Rolling. Less Kevin, more tech, UTECIT.com, right?
You got it.
So today we got a guest that will need no introduction because I think everybody in town knows him. And I came across him because I keep on seeing this guy last one, look at this body. I'm a workout king, right? So I'm always in Oak Point gym working out. And I always look over and there's this guy just sweating, dropping, beads of sweat over him, towels wrapped around him, drinking
abs.
water, six-pack abs. And he's always talking to somebody. And there's always a different person, and they're coming up to him. And I'm thinking, who is this guy? I got to meet this guy.
So wait a minute. So is he sweating from always talking, or is there actual exercising going on?
I don't know, because I've seen him eat dinner, and he sweats when he eats. So
I
don't know if it's...
I just sweat all the time.
I have no idea about this guy. But there's puddles wherever he goes, But everybody's coming up and talking to him. They got a joke. They got a laugh. And I've never seen this guy. Does he even have bad days? I don't know. We'll have to ask him. But Scott Bederka, welcome.
Well, thank you for having me here. And we were neighbors also. So
I know.
A little beyond the gym there, but it's more like a keg, not six-pack.
Yeah. Well, I didn't want to drag you down saying you lived in the same neighborhood as us, but he did. You did move out as soon as we moved in, right?
That's a good point, yes.
Is that where you guys first met?
I'm not sure if we met in the neighborhood or at Oak Point. I can't really tell you. It's been a long time.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. So I know our kids ran around together a little bit, and our oldest ones, but everybody in town knows this guy.
Yeah.
I mention his name, or I see him someplace. He's out, and he's always with a different person. And
why is that, Scott?
Just means I'm old, and I've been around a long time.
You pretty active in the community?
I try to be. Yeah. Spent a lot of time coaching the kids over the years. Have been fairly active in the community, I guess. So
they call you coach?
Call me coach, or others call me the mayor. So I don't know.
Really? Wow.
He's like the mayor of Kingstown.
What'd you coach, or what do you coach?
I coached baseball for a long time, and I coached hockey for a long time.
Really? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, pretty demanding sports, especially hockey.
Yeah, and it's something I learned over the years. I actually played football in college, but my kids got into hockey, and so I tried to bring, as I went through my coaching lessons, brought the other aspect of athletics to the hockey. So I got some really good coaching from the other coaches who actually had a hockey background. So great people in the community, great people that I learned over the years with the involvement in hockey. So
where did you play football?
I played for Brown University.
Brown. Wow.
Football power Brown.
Yeah. But Ivy League Brown. Big time.
Yeah. It was a good experience.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed it. Yeah. And as we talked about, grew up in the, very close to you in my hometown of Dearborn Heights. So that was a interesting 4 years out on the East Coast.
How'd you pick Brown University?
I was being recruited to play football, by a lot of different schools. And then one day, the principal came to get me out of the lunchroom and said, "Hey, the coach from Dartmouth is here." And I'd never heard of Dartmouth. So I went to go talk to him. And I found out there's this whole thing called the Ivy League.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, that sounds like a really good opportunity, right? And so I started narrowing my focus on the Ivy League schools. And when I made my trip to Brown, my recruiting trip, I just felt most comfortable there. And ended up spending my 4 years there.
So, see, growing up downriver, we grew up about the same time. The folks in Dearborn.
You two grew up.
Well, no,
no. I was say still a work in progress here.
We're talking more chronological age-wise, but so there was the Dearborn Heights area was the highbrow group. Them folks in the Trenton, they were all highbrow. So I'd expect you went to an Ivy League school.
Only someone from Allen Park would say that about Dearborn Heights.
But it is. So how long do you coach for the kids?
Well, my oldest is 27, and I probably started coaching him when he was 5 until the time he was in high school. And then my youngest is 24, and likewise started coaching him when he was like 5 and coached him up until the high school beyond high school years. So,
But you coached it at team level also, not just the.
oh yeah. I coached.
Well, Ryan was a stud. I don't know about the oldest. I didn't see them play, but
Yeah, well, Kyle, my oldest, was a heck of a baseball player, and so we had a lot of offers to go to play small schools for baseball. And then Ryan, of course, was my hockey player. So as he got older, I sort of backed away from the coaching there because he was at a level well beyond my expertise.
So have you had that experience, like they have it all in movies where the kid comes up to you or the grown adult comes up to you and says, "Hey, coach, you really made an impact on me"?
I have had a lot of kids. I call them kids, but they're in their mid-20s now who still call me coach. And my son was in a wedding the other day, and it was great to see these kids. A number of them I had coached, and here they are, getting married, having kids.
Yeah. How'd that make you feel?
Old.
well, he's everywhere. He's on the golf course. He's in the gym. He's in the yoga studio. He's at the ball fields, hockey rinks.
I thought you were going to say bar, that too.
Yeah, I was waiting to get.
Yeah, he does get to the bar too. They know him there very well too.
Except for January.
Yeah.
True, it is dry January, so.
Right.
You're not going to do the Peloton commercial and make it the, wet or sweaty January?
No, I don't do the Peloton. That's for the rest of the folks in my family.
Have we dissected the economic impact on Brighton with him staying out of the pubs for a month?
Well, they'll close down.
I think that and the fact that you can't get there anymore with the road construction.
Yeah, that's a little interesting challenge, huh?
Yeah, I ran into that this morning. I didn't realize that. What was going on? So you guys, so when you were coaching, right? Do you? Because when you're coaching youth, right? It's a different because you got your 5 and 6 year old, right? That is
at the beginning, yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And then as they progress, right, and you're progressing there, and your coaching's progressing with them. How big of a challenge is that to stay with them and to keep challenging them, and then to recognize when it is time to back out? Because I can tell you when I learned it was time for me to back out, but I'd be curious about your thoughts on that.
Well, from a baseball perspective, I think I was able to add value throughout the process.
Because you were a player.
Because I was a player,
Yeah.
and know the game, I think, fairly well. From a hockey perspective, it was pretty clear, especially with my youngest, who was one of those who was invited to try out for the U.S. national team, the top 50 in the country, right?
Yeah.
He got to that level. I mean,
That's
he's
incredible.
well beyond my capabilities, right? So while I followed the game and learned the game, no way do I know the nuances that he was aware of and involved with the coaches he had. So
mine was much simpler. I was catching, and it's when I found out that as the arms developed and when you're wearing glasses, and I said, okay, this is getting dangerous. Yeah, and it's time to.
When they took the ball off the tee, you said, all right, you're done?
No, I didn't. No, it was quite a bit past that. But yeah, but when you go to see it, all of a sudden you can't track the ball and it's bending. And that's.
I learned the hard way, not from a coaching perspective, but from a catching perspective, catching my kid.
Yeah.
When he got to the high school level and he started throwing breaking balls.
Right.
And I'm sitting on the bucket and he throws a cutter that I can't see. And next thing you know, it hits my ankle.
Exactly.
I mean, my ankle swelled up like a baseball.
Yeah.
I mean, I said, that's it. I'm done. I can't see it any longer.
Yeah. That about 15, age 14, 15.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the same thing. I mean, because you were you wearing glasses at the time?
Yes.
Yeah, same here. Right. And you're like, all right, this is dangerous. Time to get the heck out. Did you ever coach? So your boy pitched. Is that what you're saying?
No, he was more of a corner kid, but up until he was 14, 15, maybe 16, he pitched. But once he got
strong arm, if he's
he had a good arm. He was more of a known for his bat.
Oh,
Actually, a really sort of cool thing, and he might be the only kid in the state of Michigan that's ever won the King of SWAT in Cooperstown. So Cooperstown is a big tournament every year that all the kids go to, and you may have heard about it, but each team has a kid that has represented in the home run contest. And they go through the preliminaries, and then they take the 8 finalists. And that night they fill the stadium, probably 3,000 to 4,000 people, and he won the home run contest.
Oh, wow.
And it was absolutely surreal.
Yeah.
And this is as a 12-year-old, right? So it's a pretty cool experience as a father and a coach.
Yeah.
Oh, it had to be real exciting to see out there.
Did you knock him over on the trophy presentation to get
No,
to
but
it?
at the time, the trophy was about as big as he was, so it's pretty cool.
That's awesome. That's a famous tournament for youth. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's exciting, week.
Now, was Charlie the coach when Kyle came through, or was Mark Currow still here?
No, Charlie.
Charlie, okay.
Charlie was a coach for Kyle, yeah.
Yeah, no, they've done a nice job with the program over there. Right?
I think Charlie has had more 20-win seasons consecutively than just about any other coach. I mean, it's built a really nice program.
Mm-hmm. And then again, it's Brighton schools, right?
Yeah.
Brighton High School. Did he play travel?
He did play travel as well.
Did you travel with?
Oh, yeah. He played for one of the more competitive teams in the state, so we were traveling nationally every summer, going down to Orlando, North Carolina, Tennessee, Atlanta. I mean, we did the circuit.
Did you notice any difference in the kids as you got into the warmer states?
They played year-round.
Yeah. But, I mean, is the skill break?
Your better teams were typically from the southern states, but we represented very, very well. I mean, we did well. But
yeah, I've always heard, for what it's worth, that in the northern states, the recruitment really focuses around pitching and, the skill players because the year-round.
And you can never have enough arms.
Right.
As a baseball team.
Yeah, injuries are always right around the corner. But, yeah, so that's interesting. That's an investment, that type of travel. It was our way of life, and we, no regrets. We really enjoyed it. We met a lot of good people, both in hockey and baseball, traveled around the world. Yeah. For both. So it was a lot of fun.
Isn't it funny how your social circle just revolves around that, and you look back, and I think sometimes when you're in it, you sort of curse that, you don't have any weekends because you're traveling everywhere. But as soon as that's taken away from you, you're like, man, I missed that. I could have that back.
Well, that's when we ended up moving to the lake. Mm-hmm. Right? And we always had a thing for all the teams that we played. We always wanted to make it to Championship Sunday. That was our mantra. And I would say over 90% of the time, whether it be baseball or hockey, we were always playing Championship Sunday. Well, now that I'm on the lake, I'm going back and saying, why did I always want to play on Sunday? I mean, there's this other life outside of the sports that we can, take advantage of. So,
have you ever tried to sit down and put a tabulation to the amount of games you've seen?
No.
Give it a try sometime. No. You'll be surprised.
I've done it from the economic perspective and said, how much have I spent on an annual basis is, part of these.
It's a terrible economic investment other than the fact that you're with your kids, right?
It's not, though, because you're with your kids.
You're hanging out.
And it gives them, life skills that are imperative, right?
Mm-hmm.
I completely agree with that. I really do.
Now, my kids never wanted me. They never wanted me to come to the games.
Oh, baloney.
But no, we missed those times. So when you're not doing baseball and voluntary coaching and all that stuff, what does Scott do outside of all that?
It's sort of full circle from what we were just talking about, because I got in the IT or enterprise software industry 30-some years ago. Mm-hmm. And the reason I got into it is my senior year, my friends and I were leaving the athletic center, and there was a poster on the wall, right? This is pre-internet, right? This old-fashioned poster on the wall saying, computer software company looking for Ivy League athletes. And we looked at each other and said, let's go see what they have to say. Yeah, why not? And there was a president of a company at the time. It was called Pansophic. It was based in Oak Brook, Illinois. And he wanted to increase the sales organization fairly rapidly. And he wanted athletes to be part of his sales organization because he liked that mentality. Mm-hmm. So he said, where can I go and find athletes that will understand enterprise technology? And this is, back in the late 80s, right? So it was really an evolving market. So let's go to the Ivy League, because if they can make it through there, we can probably teach them what they need to know about technology.
Sure.
And so that's how I ended up in enterprise software, 30-some years.
Yeah. Yeah, in sales, there's a lot of that kind of thought, get an athlete, the competitiveness, the work ethic. I've seen it backfire, too. Seen it backfire. But, yeah, for the most part, strong athletes, they understand competitiveness. They want to win.
And they know, nobody wants to lose, but you're never going to win everything. So it's the ability to bounce back from a loss, to learn from your loss, and move on. Not get too high, not get too low, and just continue to do what you do. Worry about the process, and the outcome will happen.
That's true.
Now, in your background, you've been in enterprise sales, with software and technology your whole career. But you've been on both sides of the fence too. You've been an individual contributor, right, as a salesperson.
That's how I started. Yeah.
And you've been a leader of sales teams. Do you have a preference, or is there one you like better than the other?
I did the individual contributor role probably from the ages of 22 to I think 30, right? And that's you're running your own business, right? Ultimately, as an individual contributor, you have to look at it like it's your own enterprise business or your own. And had a lot of success there. And then in my right around 30, I was promoted to a sales leader, and I've been doing that, for the last 20 some years. First, second line sales positions. I like the leadership roles only because it goes back to the coaching.
Yeah.
Right. It's all about the coaching. It's about working with others, trying to get the most out of them, and making everybody else successful. And that's what I've enjoyed, both from a professional perspective as well as from a coaching perspective.
Isn't that something important? If there's a salesperson out there listening to this, is that it really is their own business, that territory, that customer list that they're given, that customer base that they develop, and the good ones see that early, right? And you want them to understand that, hey, you develop this. It's your business. Take it and go.
100%. And you've got to understand what your territory looks like, where the opportunities are, understand your sales process, your sales cycle. Most importantly, what's your value prop, and who is that going to affect the most, and make sure you're targeting the right people.
Yeah, you can't sell to somebody who's not buying or is not an ideal prospect.
Right. And even though it starts with a conversation. You may not know you're an ideal prospect. You may not be in the buying mode, but you may not know what the opportunities are out there.
Sure.
So that's why conversations are so important. So understand what people are trying to do. What is their business all about? Where do they think they could maybe improve their business, or what challenges do they have? What is their current state? Maybe the negative effect of their current state, and where would they optimally want to be? And then, have that narrative around that and tell that story so they can, light bulbs go off, get the right people involved. But it's a process, and it's gotten more and more difficult over the years.
Yeah. Why do you say that?
The consumers have gotten more intelligent.
Yeah. Right.
Right. I mean, there's a lot more information at their fingertips.
Yes. Yeah.
So a lot of times, if they are in the buying process, they've already done a lot of the education on their own. So there you've got to go in there and differentiate yourself vis-a-vis what else they might be looking at. So that's one kind of buyer versus the other kind of buyer that you mentioned, and that's a person that's not necessarily in the market, that doesn't know they have a problem. So now you're educating them. You're the thought leader. You're the visionary. But that's going to now take more time because they've got to go through a process of getting other approvals, getting budget allocated, etc. So you've got two different buyers on the spectrum.
Because if you were a salesperson in the 90s, if you were a salesperson, especially in the 80s, but in the early 2000s, you basically had some kind of power, if you will, in terms of knowledge, right? So you were a person that, knew your product, knew your competitor's product, and you had that as your bargaining chip. And now in the day of democratization of information, the power is now flipped onto the other side, and the dynamic, the dance, if you will, has really, really changed.
Agreed.
But what's always stayed the same is what you said, is it begins with the conversation. And if you're not having the meetings and the face-to-face and the discussions, you can't get anywhere.
And you need to have multiple conversations and multiple discussions, right? You can't get trapped into a single group of people or a single person.
Yeah, decision-making in a company today is risky, right? Because capital's tighter, talk of recession, all that kind of stuff. So instead of having the one person that drives it, they've got committees now. What do you think? That kind of stuff. And to your point, there's now more people involved.
There's more people involved, and also because of the economy, people aren't just going to buy technology for the sake of technology. They're going to buy for one or two reasons. They're going to streamline their process and save money, or they're going to increase revenues.
Yes.
And you need to understand where you are and really sell to those points.
Yeah. And in my mind, you always want to be on that revenue driving.
But isn't that the fun part, though, of the sales process, is when you're the salesperson getting in there and asking the questions and being smart enough just to shut up and listen to the answers, right? And it's a conversation. It's not one way. You got to listen to them, but finding those needs, finding those solutions that are out there and bringing them to the table.
It's so important to listen, and it's, like you said, really rewarding when all of a sudden the light bulb goes off in them, and all of a sudden they start seeing ways in which they can utilize technology to better their business, and they become your inherent champion who can then take that message throughout the organization. So that's critical.
Yeah, and but it boils down to the conversation.
Yeah, it all starts with a conversation.
It does, absolutely. That won't go away either.
No, and I still, also old school, but people are going to buy from people they like and they trust, right? So it's important that you build those relationships with people and really understand.
So what do they buy second in the decision, company or product? If it's person, company, and product, those are kind of the three wild cards.
So I'm sorry, your question was?
Stack rank them.
Stack rank them?
People, product, company.
That's a good question. I don't know that I have a right answer.
In my mind, it's mostly people, company, then product.
Yeah. And I think that's the order I was leaning towards. I think it's definitely people, the people they're dealing with, because those are the people they're going to come to if there's an issue, and those are the people that are going to help resolve those issues. And then you've got product, right?
Yeah.
But, in today's day and age, you have very few products that really differentiate themselves that greatly. Most products, they can do what needs to be done. And then, like you said, company, I think, would be third.
Yeah. I see. I go my personal.
Sorry, vice versa.
Yeah, that's how I mean, that's just me because the products, there is not a lot of differentiation, but at the company level there can be.
Yeah, and that goes back to the relationships, right? So people are an extension of the company, so it's still around the people.
Yeah. Anyway, cool.
And I think it's been fun. With technology, and you talked about the information, how the buyer is more informed now than ever before, and I think that's in some ways that's kind of fun if you're a true sales professional like Scott. Is it weeds out the bad guys, right? The pretenders. You've got to be good nowadays to make any money in our business because they know, and they're educating you as much as you're educating them sometimes.
Yeah, and you can't just show up and throw up.
Yeah.
Right? I hate to use that sort of crass analogy, but it's true. It goes back to the conversation, getting to know what the real initiatives are, what the real business problems are, and making sure you're able to address them.
Yeah, we're telling our guys all the time, but you got to work harder, right, than you ever have before. Yeah. But the good news is it'll be just as rewarding, and it is weeding out the pretenders.
And you got to work smarter too. I was at a conference a couple of weeks ago with a lot of CIOs, and I had multiple ones tell me, we don't respond to emails. We get so many emails now that we ignore them.
Thank you.
He said, so you really need to, get on LinkedIn and send me a personalized message or something that's going to grab my attention. And at the end of the day too, a couple of them said, you get all these people trying to sort of dance around what they're doing. They said, we appreciate the people that just, we're trying to sell you something, right? So let's talk about what it is, have a conversation. And they're more apt to have a conversation with you than someone who's trying to pretend that there's something they're not. So
today, LinkedIn, specifically Navigator, is the number one tool. And the in-mail open rates are 4 times that of standard email. But where email does work, right, is when it is value-laden communication. What doesn't work is the spammy, Scott, I've seen where you're a professional salesperson at Company X, and we've proven to drive revenue, and is next Tuesday or Wednesday available?
Right.
That kind of stuff is
deleted. They never even read it. It just gets deleted.
Well, most people. Value-laden based upon information that's particular to that individual, that it gets open. But LinkedIn 4 times as often.
That's an interesting stat. I didn't know that actual stat, but I absolutely believe it from the conference. What we've seen, yeah, from the conference as well.
Right.
Now, you've always liked the big platforms, enterprise sales, from your background versus more of the small to medium-sized sales. Is there any reason for small, medium-sized business, I should say?
Yeah, that's just where I've been, right? The companies I've been with have always targeted the larger enterprises for whatever reason. So, I've always told my teams too, and, I don't know if it's more or less complicated to sell to a smaller enterprise than a bigger enterprise. But I've always told my teams it's probably just as easy to do $1 million plus deal than it is a smaller transaction. Because if you're doing $1 million plus deal, you're probably talking to the right people.
Yeah.
Right.
As opposed to having to go up so many levels to get approval.
Yeah. Yeah, I find that in our world, sometimes the smaller deals are so much more difficult, time consuming than what you deal with. With a larger transaction.
Probably because of who you're talking to, right?
Well, sometimes, but on the smaller deals, you're usually talking to the business owner, and sometimes this deal is competing with them making a mortgage payment, right? Whereas at an enterprise or a large company where budgets are set and there's money, already put aside for certain things, you can actually do the bigger deal quicker because budget's already there. And as long as it aligns with an initiative, for the organization, then the bigger ones can move quicker than the smaller ones.
I think that's very interesting, though, because I think in a lot of ways, that smaller transaction where you're dealing with a business owner or you're dealing with a small group that's influenced a decision, it's an emotional decision, right? And you can make a quick decision like that. But as you said, it's easier to sell $1 million deal sometimes than it is to sell, a $10,000 deal.
But at the end of the day, they're usually all emotional decisions, right?
They are at the end of the day, if you get there.
And it's
Scott's pulling out the Ivy League education.
Thanks. It's true though.
Our SAT scores together didn't add up to his.
Right.
Even at the enterprise level, though, what you say is true. I have lost a deal in the past because they decided they needed to repave parking lots.
Yeah.
So that money that was allocated for a certain initiative gets pulled away because they find more pressing initiatives within the company. Yeah. So that's something you always have to keep your ear to.
You do. The large in the organization, if you can find an initiative and tie your product to the initiative or service to the initiative, it's...
Yeah, the initiatives that are published in the annual reports are the ones that aren't going away. So those are the ones you really want to tie yourself to, not the ones that people are just telling you about, but those that are actually in print are the ones that they tend to stick to.
True.
Well, I knew you two. I mean, you two could probably geek out on all this stuff here, talking about leadership and coaching. And I wanted you to meet each other because I know that very similar backgrounds, ideology on this stuff.
A couple of downriver guys.
A couple downriver guys. That's right, man. Back to the roots. But no, and it's funny because if you see less coaching in its sales meetings, you're saying the same things here, and it's important for our guys to hear that and see that. You got to bring them in, reaffirm how smart you are in front of the group.
No, refer Kevin. Yeah, I love it. Come on out, hang out with us.
So, what else? Anything else exciting and going on for the family?
No, not much. Just same old.
The golf game's still good?
Golf game is still good. I actually, I heard you mention Kevin's name earlier. I actually invested in a simulator for my garage, so I've been using that this winter. But
you've been happy with it, right?
Yeah. And the really cool thing is, and I'm going to have Kevin hit me up as for promotional here, but it's a new product he's got. It's a retractable screen for your garage.
Oh, really?
So when you're not using it, you press a button, it rolls up.
Yeah.
And when you want to use it, you press a button, it rolls down. It takes me about 6 minutes to set up and break down. So that way I don't lose my garage all winter.
Okay.
So in round numbers, what's something
hold on. We got to give a plug out first for Scott to collect, but Kevin Johnson over there at OptiShot, right?
That's correct.
If you want a golf simulator, there's only one place to go, and that's Kevin Johnson at
Kevin,
OptiShot.
And he'll address all your pricing issues.
I
don't want
to. Well, the reason I was chatting with him, he come to our March Madness event last year, and he sets up the simulator, and you're going to be there this March Madness. But he was talking about a goal or a dream of his, which was to have one of these in everybody's garage that golfs. and he was talking about how, just imagine how neighborhoods can have golf tournaments through winter, and you could use it to socialize. And I thought, wow, that's pretty unique. But in my mind, I'm going, who the heck's going to put a $30,000 simulator in their garage?
It's like all other technologies. The price points are coming down, but it's great. You set it up, you put it on, and the birds start chirping, and you feel like you're in Augusta.
Right.
Yeah, so it's a nice way to spend an evening.
Well, Kevin would want us to say too that if you're not a golfer, Les,
yes,
he has hunting simulators.
Right.
So every garage should have one, whether you hunt or whether you golf.
Yeah.
And in your case, when you golf, you do both because you hunt for your golf balls.
Yeah, yeah. I would. It's kind of like bowling on the Wii, but better.
It's better than sitting on the couch, right? Stay active.
That's classic.
Well, Scott, I'm glad we could finally get you off the treadmill, get you into the podcast studio and here to come talk to us. And I appreciate you doing it.
Well, thank you for having me. I enjoyed it. My first experience with a podcast, and
oh, you're a pro, man. You're built for this.
But people have always said I have a face for radio, so it must mean a face for a podcast now. So,
well, let's ask her. Even though it's dry January for you,
so we always like to close out our show. When you reach for your bourbon, when you're done playing OptiShot in your garage and you go to relax and unwind, what flavor bourbon do you like?
That is such a difficult question. That's like asking somebody what their favorite movie or song is.
Yeah, I know.
So
That's
many
why we like doing it. Yes.
How many do you have in your collection?
I usually keep somewhere between 50 and 20. So it's not a huge collection, but it varies.
50 or 20 different
15
bottles?
to 20.
15 to 20.
Yeah, maybe
so
25.
There's a 5-bottle variance, and that occurs within a 30-day span typically.
It can.
Now we understand how much you do drink.
It depends on how many friends come over, how many people come over to use a simulator.
Okay.
Or in the summertime, how many people are over, doing the booze cruises. So it can vary greatly. Mileage varies greatly.
What's your favorite? Come on.
It's a tough question.
But you can dig down.
Gun to the head. You had to go grab one. What bottle are you grabbing first?
Eagle Rare.
Eagle Rare.
I like it.
Buffalo Trace.
Yeah.
Product.
I was going to say, I believe we actually have tried that here at one point in time. Rob had a bottle.
Yeah, Rob had a bottle here. I don't think he was happy we took it out of his little cubby there, but
yeah, no, he wasn't.
He'll forgive us.
So it's not Kessler's.
It's not.
Okay.
But there's so many good ones.
Kessler's a whiskey anyways.
Well, we won't make you drink it because I appreciate you're doing your dry January there, getting
does this
back
little
on
bit
track.
even count?
No, it doesn't.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
No, this is what
This isn't even
the Angel
a gram.
Sip. Is that what it is? Angel Sip or Angel Share?
Envy?
Angel, very nice.
I don't know. I didn't see the pour. Give it a try. Come on. It's not your...
I think it's Sesson 20